So we're going to be doing the character study. I'm going to make it all in the same project. So that's my fall 2023 in class project, and I'm going to kind of cheat. I'm not going to create a story. I'm not going to make art. You guys are going to make art and tell a story. I'm just going to kind of do technical demos. So I'm going to use the characters I already have made. We've already done that. There's no need for me showing you those steps from scratch. But one thing we are going to do is start bringing in some marketplace content because of the whole cooking show nature of this live demos. We want to make sure that I've added that kind of stuff sooner than later. Um, I've already added it, but I'm going to show you what I did. Um, so this would be normally what I would do first, which is to add it because if you've never downloaded or added the marketplace content to a project before, it's not locally stored in your cache. Something you might not know is that in your settings, you have a um, a location for where your cache is. So everything you download, all 6 GB of the content examples, everything is stored locally, and you can keep on adding it to things. If you're running out of space in your C drive. By default, it is on your C drive. It might be one of those things you want to actually browse and put it on like a storage drive or something like that, or just delete it all the time. 'Cause I think there is a button for like delete or something. Anyway, so that might be something. But anyway, if you haven't downloaded before, it has to download before it can add to the project. So I already went ahead and did that. I want to add in a gym, which is in my vault. It's 18 megabytes, so I always use it because it's super light. And then I added in a cave that I think is cool. This fantasy cave environment. I think when I did it last year, it was like the free asset for the week or something. So, but what it has is this long walkway that's just like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which we looked at back in compositing days. So anyway, these assets have been, you can choose which project you add it to. And again, I've been working in the same project, which is the my fall in class. And then I now have 2 folders. One's called Cave, which has the maps, right? So we've identified that oftentimes marketplace assets have a demonstration which show things in working order, right? Everything's already compiled together in a demonstration of what all the assets can do. You by no means have to use that, but also we only have so much time. So if you just want to use a level, that's fine. It's all about finding cinematic and rearranging things so that it could be cinematic for those levels. Um, so that's the demonstration of the cave. While that loads, I will go ahead and take a look quicker at the gym. All right, so again, library, and then the gym is super super small. It's just like some free weights. Cool. And it has the same thing. It has a demonstration map, and it has a overview. Hmm. Well, that's fun. Let's see what else we can look at before this thing gets going. So we're going to want to have some idle animations. Let's take a look at our. Here we go. Pairing shaders. Okay. So it's looking very dark. I can tell where the map is. Let's go to our exposure. We put game settings so it can auto expose for us. No? There we go. There's the map. So those are just some viewport settings. They're not actually permanent settings. I'm going to return these back to 1. And then let's look and see if there's a post processing. So, being able to reverse engineer these assets are important. For our global exposure, we have post processing, and there is an exposure setting, and I want to make them the same. I just make them both 1, and then I have a compensation to go one way or the other. Let's see. That's not working. Let's see if there's a main directional light source. Let's see. Sky sphere, that's an old thing. Uh, let's see what kind of lights we have in here. Light source. You're at 1 lux. Bring you up. Let's make these locked at 5. -20, -10. All right, so global, make sure that it is enabled, right? Let's go back to our exposure settings. And there might be something else. In fact, I could also just say, go away, you're causing me issues. And let's add one from scratch. Hosts, processing volume. Say from scratch, I would want to make sure that it is um, enabled and that it's infinite. So therefore, it's not just within the box realm, it's the entire world. And then we can go over to see if we can do adjustments now for uh, uh, we can come back to these settings in a second, but I did prove that we can make it work eventually. That's just not going to be in the renderer. We'll come back to it in a second. Uh, we're also going to look at the gym, home gym, and it comes with a map. Showcase is the things together, and overviews them all separate. I'm just going to utilize the showcase and be inside this map, and this is where my scene is going to take place. And it's inside this kind of inverted, what's called a chamfer cube, a cube with rounded edges. Cool. So first of all, we want to do is we want to bring in this character. For this character, for this project, I'm going to be using my skeletal mesh from Make Human, right? And right now, the Make Human does not have morph targets, so I'm going to have to make the morph targets next week for face animation. That's why I'm using it, because it's going to make me have to work harder for it. I'm going to speed up the camera movement. Right now, it's a little slow. Cool. And so there we go. We have a map and we have a character. So we want to have some idols so we can start blocking our character around. I don't care about the asset itself because we're just going to be bringing in the data. So, and we're not doing mocap for this right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and export it. Or if I look in my project in previous weeks, I added my assets to this folder called imports next to it. So there's Bobby right there, and I can bring it into Mixamo. So Mixamo. All right, upload character. Hopefully it works. Luckily, I don't care about textures because those things have already been imported. Looking good. So we want a couple of idols, or just do an idol. All right, so our character is going to be fighting, right? We're in a gym. So I think that seems pretty appropriate to have. It doesn't loop, though. I want it to loop. We can grab these. Sending idol to fight idol. I like that. Let's do that. So I can blend it together. No skin. Cool. Let's get something where he's rocking back and forth. Sad idol, no. Happy idol's a little much. Elvis is a little much too. I like a victory idol. Is this one loop? Love it. All right, this one loops. We'll do this one. And of course, you could change how wide the arms are, how high they go, how fast it is. All this kind of stuff can be trimmed in here. You're not just stuck with what they have. And then I want to get some walking animations. I happen to know that there is a large amount of catwalks in Mixamo, which are rather awesome. My favorite is that this one has sassiness on a slider, much less sassy, very sassy. Cool. And that might be all I need to do with Mixamo. So let's go ahead and bring in our character, and we'll rotate around. Let's see, how do I want to do this? We'll put it over there. And right now, our world is not that amazing. We're in this cube. Let's go ahead and go to Quixel and get a better, or let's see if I already have something. Let's see, we have, go into our Quixel stuff, Mega Scans, Surfaces. I think this could work. Let's just go for decorative brick wall. Well, it's a gem. It's not gonna be decorative. There we go. We have some stuff going on here. Obviously, the scale is wrong for this. So as we know, we have tiling and offset, and tiling is its location. Sorry, tiling is its scale, offset is its location. So if I bring it bigger, it's gonna make it smaller, and let's just make it match at 10. That's a little much. 5 is fine. Good enough for right now. I have an environment. I have a character. Let's go ahead and bring in those animations onto our character. Which is Bobby animations folder. Bring it in from downloads. Catwalk. Catwalk, catwalk, catwalk. There we go. Bring it in. And then I think I had to scale my character, so I'm going to take a quick look at that before I actually add it to there. Let's take a look. My animations were so if you that's why you want to make everything the right size before you bring it in, because you have to keep on remembering that you brought in the wrong scale character. So they all have to be at a scale of 10. That's just because of the way I brought it in initially. I got to keep on with that mistake. And this is why it's always so good to start over from scratch if you see people making mistakes. So I bring them all in, make them at 10, and then import all. Cool. And they're in the right orientation, and here they are. Let's save all. Cool. So let's start thinking about where we want our cameras to be. But first of all, let's get this character in a more natural pose. So instead of using a blueprint, which we're not going to use until the second half of class, use an asset, and let's look for the word idle. And we have tons of idols. Cool. Let's just do a regular idle, but it's not moving. There's actually a feature called Live Link Skeleton, which will actually play animations even when you're not hitting play. If I were to hit play or simulate, see, he has the animation, and that's how I can maybe audition which ones I want, but I don't want to have to keep on hitting play and stop. So I'm going to go to my plugins and look for a thing called Live Link. Other Live Link things can you turn on too, like Live Link camera, other stuff that's fine. But for right now, we're just going to do Live Link. This is a way of us streaming data in. And this is how we're going to bring things from Motive in real time. And now with Live Link enabled, we have a new component. So this is where I'm going to do most of my work for the time being, which is in the showcase. I'm going to go ahead and go to my project settings under maps and modes, and I want that to be my default, so I keep on coming back to it. All right, so showcase in home gym, and that way when I restart, it'll just open up back in this map. Great. The lights are a little bright for here. Let's see, all of them are in a row. That's 5, 5, 1, 1, 1. Let's bring down this fella. There we go. So we're not overexposed too much. And then we can also look at the post-processing volume here. If this works correctly, make sure this one is enabled. They are not doing something. I think I encountered this last semester and I forgot already what it is. We'll just move this to 1, which was fine at the beginning. Come back to it later. Cool. So I know I want the first I want the first camera to kind of see it across, and I want to be focused on the gym assets. I want to reveal where I'm at. Slow the camera down a little bit. Cool, whatever. It's just super slow. Okay. And I'm going to drop a camera right here. So I think that if I go here, I could say create a cinematic camera here. And then now I have one right there. I know that I want to have a close-up on him because we're going to look at the face. So we're going to have a camera here. And then I'm going to do like a dolly shot from down here to just kind of see what he's working on. Cool. And then another camera there. Great. So here's going to be my 3 shots. Go ahead and make a sequencer. And I have a assets folder with sequencers. I keep it in the root. And this will be called gym midterm. Cool. And I can start thinking about throwing in these cameras and whatnot. Um, First thing I want to do is go back to that live link element. So if I go here to the actor itself, I could add in a component and say live link skeleton. And now it automatically starts playing. This is like when we do animation, we don't want to hit play to see our motion capture performer. Motion capture performer is always going to be moving around. We want to have them framing. So it's good to have this component on there so we can see the live data. In this case, we're having a pre-recorded information. So I can audition my assets a little better. That makes more sense, right? They're not playing baseball, they're only kicking dirt. Cool. And I want to put the camera, which is currently looking at our actor, I actually want to put it on the actor. If I drag it up, it says what bone do I want it? I'm gonna put it on the head. Is the head not moving? Live link, skeletal data. Let's remove it real quick. I'm not crazy, right? It was animating a second ago, right? Live link. Skeletal animation. Very interesting. Let's come back in here. I'm sure it'll fix itself in a second. A cinematic camera. The idea is I want to get like a POV shot, like you might see. It's called a snorri cam, where you put a camera on somebody's head, and it's uh, kind of like disorienting. And it can either I can have look at tracking if I want to make sure that I'm selecting his face, but it should be fine because it's parented and you saw me parent it to the head. Let me right here. Let me hit save. There it goes. Who knows why? But it's animated now. So I can either bring the camera closer and frame it, right? So let's see how alarming that is. But right now, and right now the background is in focus and this character is not in focus. So the decision: do you want the camera to be closer or do you want the zoom to be closer? It's all about how much background you want to see. So if I were to move it back and instead zoom closer, here's all the settings. I can bring in, there's focus, the focal length. The difference is I can see only a few bricks to the right and left versus I can see a lot more bricks to right and left, right? So this is between moving a camera and zooming in. It's not just because you're always lazy and you want to not move a camera. It's because it has a different effect, right? So I want to focus in, which really gets the idea of the background out of the way. And then you see right here, it says focus settings. I can say draw the debug focus plane, and then that focus plane is way over there. Right? It's that purple thing. I can either manually drag it in, watch me drag it in, or I have this little dropper. I could say his nose is in focus, and you go boop, and now he's in focus, right? And anything that, and this can be animated. This can be on sequencer once I put the camera in there, right? So this is cool. There's lots of different settings. If you're camera savvy, you can take a look at different film backs and different things like that. F-stops, like for instance, and I think I have some charts for this next week. If you have a if I go to maybe a 12 millimeter prime lens, this is going to be a wide angle lens. It's going to show a lot more versus going to telephoto, which is going to really get in there, right? So you have all these things are just physically represented as real kind of stuff. But right now, you see even his ears are out of focus, and maybe only like his tip of his nose. It's a little bit too much of a depth of field. So I maybe want to pull back on some of that. So bring up the minimum f-stop, and now more of his face is in focus. Uh, There you go. So now we see more of his face, but now the background's not in focus. So kind of playing with this stuff. Just want to be able to see his face and not really the background. Right now there's like a little bit of motion blur, but that's fine. So cool. We have one camera working for us. Let's go over to um, so sometimes our scene is lit and our character we want to be lit a little bit differently. So this is something that is can be kind of fun, especially if you need to do like more evenly lighting with like I don't know, like directional lights, and you don't want them to affect your character. You do want them to affect their character. If you look at your lights, you have a thing at the very bottom called channels, and you can actually choose what lights are hitting what. So I want this light to be on channel 1, 0, and 1, and then it's hitting things on channel 1 and 0. Because this character, he also has channels. If I take him off channel 0, he's not being lit by anything, right? You can choose which lights hit with things in your scene, and sometimes you need to make a character more well lit or less well lit than the rest of the scene, and this is a way of choosing what lights hit what. So I only want this blue light to hit him, but I want to hit the rest of the scene. I go here, blue light hits channel 1, and he's only hit by the blue light. All right, so this is like that's what you can't do in the real world, and that's really cool. And but now the character can be seen by all lighting channels, and so you can choose. This often helps with like VR when you need to make something really evenly lit, the character, but you want to have the scene be very dynamically lit. Cool. So that's lighting channels. Let's go over to um, our camera over here. I want to do an animation with this camera, so I'm going to go to my sequencer now. I always put my sequencer at the very top. I'm going to put it to a folder, and I'm going to make that folder start with the numbers 00, sequencer, and that way I can always find it at the very top. Open it up, get rid of my filter. And the first camera thing, let's see, let's just do 5 seconds. It's fine for me for right now. Let's take in our camera, load it in. It adds a camera cuts track automatically, which is what's choosing which camera, right? So when I make this sequence 15 seconds, I only want this first camera for the first few frames. Then if I go into uh, 5 seconds in, I can add in the camera 3, right? And that's getting what's happening there. And then if I go to 10 seconds in, I can grab in camera 2, and that's camera on the floor. So now I'm already adding in its camera cuts. So the first shot, I want to be very out of focus. I'm going to go ahead and pilot this camera. I'm going to give it a little bit of a perspective. Slow it down even further. Right now, I can't really see this light, so I'm going to go to my basic lights and add another point light. Okay. So I have a little bit more information here. You can also pilot a light. Get it closer. There we go. Eject. And now I can see it. Camera. Oops. Well, I was piloting the camera. A big no-no. Let's start here and put a keyframe for transform. And then by the end of actually that was not frame zero. Now it's in frame 0. And then if I go to 5, I want it to be down. So we're going to kind of reveal this character. At this point, I want this camera to be, let's do, was it digital film by default? That's fine. Let's make it more of a prime lens. And then we can kind of reframe it. I'm going to put an auto key. There we go. And I want that to be in focus. All right, so we see some motion. We're suggesting of a character, but we don't know what it is just yet. Right here, anything that can be animated can be. Once I've added in a setting, I can add it to be keyframed. It already happened because I had auto keyframing on, and we see that that is right here. This is the distance, and I want by the end of my frame for it to be in focus on the gentleman. So now we have what's called a focus pool. I thought I had a focus pool. You're not keyframed. Let's come back here. Keyframe. There we go. Keyframe. And as I come back down, let's go ahead and see him. Cool. I actually hit him. I hit the background. Cool. There he is. So now we have a little bit of a focus pool. Right? So we see a character, we're suggesting it, and by the time we can see the face, though, it's only looking at the pants. And we'll bring this in. Just barely see the pants. And I want to see that while it's right here. There we go. Cool. So eject out of there. Cool. So this room is one of the things I couldn't do the other day, and I want to kind of getting in. I want to get into this a little bit. Is we were trying to paint uh, the points. Like for instance, this is a very pristine kind. I mean, obviously it's not. It's just a very uniform brick texture. So let me show you something really quick about vertex painting, and this is something you can do with Quixel assets. It wasn't working in class. I kind of tried it twice and failed miserably publicly, but we're going to go for it again because I think it's a really cool feature built in. So we're going to look for our static meshes. I'm going to get what's known as a material sphere, something with some geometry in it, and we're going to go to vertex paint. So if you look in your wireframe, this has these points where the lines cross, right? That's a vertex point. You can store a lot of information in there. And when you can paint those, you can add colors to them. And if we come over to this asset, say we're going to paint it, first of all, it's added all the vertex points. If I look at them, they're all on there. It's R, G, and B. You can have three different channels. You can actually have four different channels, R, G, B, and A channels on here to paint. You see if I put this brush over there, it sees the vertex points. But everything is already painted. All three textures are on there all at once. So I'm going to flip this, fill it, and then flip it again, and now it's empty. And as I paint on different channels, and again, these channels represent different textures, I can paint on some red here, some green here. Again, these are referencing materials, some blue here, and I can have a perfect blend of blue and green, right? But what does that mean? Well, I was trying to show bridge and the fact that if you go to what you have locally selected, you can blend them together. But I was getting an error that said select two or more material instances to perform this operation. I did this twice in class. That's actually a known bug. That's an error. I found a workaround for it. That's manual, but whatever. So let's do. I already did it once, but if we go to Megascans and look at our surfaces, I said I'd like to keep my surfaces here in the top level. I'm going to select whichever one you choose first is the one that will is the one that's going to be the first. It's going to be the one that's on top. So I'm going to choose maybe this one. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose this one first, and then I'm going to go back to this, create material blend. It's going to be the folder called material blends, and I'm going to call this demo midterm. Create it, and now my blend materials, I have a blended material. The problem is that it's just a singular material, the one that's called brick wall, and then this is nothing. So I can actually override that, and that fixes this. Sorry about the having to do a workaround, but that's just the case for right now. I'm sure it'll be fixed soon. So the brick wall is this one. That's fine. Let's go into actually, which one is this? That's decorative brick wall is number one. So we're going to go to concrete framed right here, and then put in the materials. We have the color, the normals, and the albedo. And then if I come down to the next layer and go into framed or decorative, concrete, decorative, framed, and there's regular brick wall, color, normal. So we had to do a little bit of manual labor on this. But now if we save and we apply this material, and then we go back to don't show anything, we actually are blending the materials. So say I want to just paint a little bit of this one in there. Some of them aren't different enough. Let's see if this one's different enough. Here we go. See, it's subtle, but that's what you want. And then sometimes you have to erase them because like you've added too many on there. So you can flip it and then erase the material. Come back and add it in. Cool. So this way you can add some like, different spots. They actually have it where you can add puddles in this way as well. You can paint little puddles and stuff. So I just want to get into that a little bit because it wasn't working from before. Back to here, jump around. We're just gonna do a simple camera move for the last thing. Let's add in that silly rail. It doesn't have to be on the ground. And then when I take the camera and add it to the rig and then zero it out right here, it's ready to go. We can add both to sequencer. And now my sequencer is getting a little bit more populated. So I'm going to add in a folder for cameras. And if you're working on a small screen, you can start organizing things a little bit better. Right? So it's a little more real estate. Cool. So we're going to start in frame 10. I have the Cine camera. Let's choose a different lens. Let's go for 50 millimeters is what the human eye sees. Let's just stick with that. All right. And we want to make it look at behavior. So we're going to say look at Bobby. Cool. And I want to be offset slightly. Sorry, to enable look at Bobby. And I want to be offset slightly so we're looking at his head framed right like that. Okay, so first of all, we're going to have the rig rail. It has the current position on rail. And we're going to say start at 0. And let's make the rail long enough. I'll hold down Alt and click. So I'll hold down Alt, click. Makes it a little bit longer. And then by the end, he can be at full 1. Cool. So maybe at here, we want to look at offset to be there. As we get closer, we want the offset to be not crazy, something like that. And then let's go ahead and do the focus distance. Sorry, I was pointing at the picture for somebody. There we go. Focus right here. And then when I come back, we want the focus to be here. Cool. So doing a dolly move and coming up and seeing him. I want this to actually be framed a little better. So sometimes you just split the difference and add a keyframe to frame on the third. There we go. Cool. So if we look at here, we got our focus pull, our POV, and the final shot. Right now, if I hit G, I'm getting rid of the game object. It was seeing the actual camera itself in there. Cool. He's getting ready for the prize fight. We got all going on. Cool. Um, so if I hit play, can I watch this? No. Does anyone know why? Because it's not set to autoplay. So now if I hit play, cool. I don't want to have the same animation the entire time. I just was using the idle for blocking. I'm fine with having it for maybe the beginning. Nah, I want it to be actually him doing stuff. So let's go ahead and add Bobby to the mix. I'm going to lock my playhead and range. So back to frame 0. And let's add an animation for Bobby. Idle. That's not the right idle. Let's switch it out to idle 2. That's fine. And maybe he starts boxing. Okay, so let's go a little further in. Add boxing. Did I do boxing? What did I do? I did catwalk. Let's do boxing real quick. There we go. That's perfect. Do downloads. Give me just a few moments and I'll wrap this up. Cool. So let's add this in. Assets, scalable meshes, Bobby animations, downloads, boxing. Import it to Bobby. 10. There we go. And back to sequencer. Add in boxing. Right. If I want to be, I can be clever and I can do make this animation loop on its own. Trim it. I can put the playhead at 5 seconds in. Trim it to there, and then no one knows. I don't have to do a blending, right? I just go right. No one knows. I don't have to blend it because I just do a camera cut. I'm hiding it, and then I can continue to cheat, make it loop. But then the last one, let's go ahead and add in a standing idle fight. I want the other way. I want fighting. Here we go. Let's do it this way. This one's cool because it has the big thing at the end. Let's find out when that happens. All right, so that's when his arms go up. We want that to happen around here, right? Isn't that cool? So a box, and then we'll overlap. Cool. Makes sense to me. So here's like kind of one quick little shot. We're going to add more shots this. I'm going to show you turn levels on and off. We're running out of time, or we ran out of time. I appreciate your patience. So we're going to keep on adding to this for next week's demo. But for right now, we get an idea for how to start. You guys could do a lot of pre-production. First of all, choose your levels, choose your